Hi friends, welcome to A to Z Learning channel. Today in this video, we'll talk about global minimum corporation tax. This week, or I should say last week, major economies, the finance ministers of major economies were getting together in the UK to talk about number of measures and one thorny issue of dealing with how to tax the big multinational companies, because multinational companies have historically have the advantage of moving their revenues, therefore moving their profits around in the world, and particularly to the countries where the tax rate is very low. Therefore, they may be generating huge amount of sales in a country, but they may be paying very minimal tax in that country. Instead, they may be paying tax in a country where tax rates are low, so that overall they could minimize the tax rate that they are paying as a firm. Again, one thing to kind of clarify, there's nothing illegal in terms of what multinational companies have done in the past. They have all used the available rules. They have in compliance with the rules of the country, but they have used some of these loopholes to better plan their taxes. I guess they applied with the rule, they complied with the rule, but not with the intent over the years. This issue has become more severe with the rise of tech companies, global giants like Facebook, Google, where they deal with intangible products and services. So it's very hard to pin down what is the origin of these services, who is eventually providing this service, and therefore which is the right place to record their sales and profits. Yes, but the good news is finance ministers of major economies, G7 countries, got together earlier earlier last week and have agreed on a global minimum corporation tax rate framework. So in this video, we will help you understand all about it. And most importantly, we'll do all this in a very simple, easy to understand manner. If you like the content of this video, then we would urge you to please press the like button. Let us know what you think about the content that we are sharing with you. And feel free to share it with your friends and family. If you have any comments, suggestions where you feel the content could be different, again, we would look forward to your suggestions, your comments. Please do let us know through the comments about all those. So enough of marketing, enough of requesting you and reminding you about your responsibility as you watch this video. Let's start and deal with the concept that we are here to discuss. Global minimum corporation tax. Let's let's decode this whole thing with the help of four key questions. First question is what has happened? Why is it happening? And how would it work? And most importantly, the last question is it all done deal or are there any next steps to it? So we'll discuss all this in a very, very simple manner, easy to understand manner in this video. So let's start with the first question, which is what has actually happened? As I was saying, finance ministers of major seven economies, which are called G7 countries, and it includes countries such as US, UK, France, Japan, Germany, Italy, and Canada. They have this regular practice of meeting and discussing various issues of importance. And when this time they met in the UK, they have discussed many topics, including the topic of minimum corporation tax. Good news is they have agreed to create a global minimum corporation tax rate that they have agreed is at least 15%, which number of commentators, number of political parties, number of political leaders, number of campaign groups that are pushing for this global minimum corporation tax so that these global companies are not able to move the profits around, move the revenue around. They are able to pay their fair share of tax in the country in which they are generating most of their sales. Okay, so this topic is of dealing with global minimum corporation tax has been on the radar of major economies. In fact, there is a significant effort that has been going on for quite a while. There are about 140 countries who are involved in terms of making sure that it operates seamlessly. So that leads us to the second question. Why a global minimum tax? As I've been saying, historically, global multinational companies have shifted their profits and revenues around in such a way through their subsidiary and holding company structure to make sure that their bulk of the profit and revenue is booked in a country where they have a minimum or very low tax payment requirement. As I've said, there is nothing illegal in this, but there are legal loopholes available to global companies who have managed to maximize the benefits for them through those legal loopholes. Countries such as Ireland, Luxembourg, Bermuda, Netherlands, and the list goes on. There are many countries. I'm just naming these countries for an example, have historically attracted large companies to come and set up their offices, their presence in their country, and they have lured them by offering very, very low tax rates. Apple, for example, was in the news that they agreed a very, very good deal with Irish authorities to pay very, very nominal tax. And that allowed them to kind of pool together their global income through the legal options that are available to them into Ireland. And that allowed Ireland to get a bigger share or a small percentage, a lower percentage of the tax revenue, but on a very large base of profits. And that helped them, that created all these tech companies, all these global companies to set up their offices in these countries, hired more people. That kind of also helped rest of the economies, rest of the businesses in these countries too. So this practice of moving profits and revenues has been in existence for many years, but it has gone many-fold. It has become quite significant lately with the rise of these gig economies, the tech companies, which are dealing with intangible products and services. So this global minimum tax is basically a simple call for from the authorities to ask these big companies to pay their fair share of tax in the countries in which they are generating their sales and profits. They have been criticized long enough for paying very, very low tax in the countries in which they have large base, but through these loopholes they have been able to move some of their revenues and profits around to the countries where they pay low tax. Just to kind of indicate what is the sort of size we are talking about, I think the rough estimate seem to suggest that if this 15%, which itself is seen a very low tax rate, is put in place, it has the potential of generating additional tax revenue to the tune of 50 to 80 billion US dollar globally. As governments around the world are dealing with the pandemic cost, the tax revenues are low, their small and medium sized companies in their country need support, tax support. Where would the government find money to support their local businesses? Local businesses don't have this advantage of creating a complex holding company subsidiary structure to take advantage of global low tax rates. they have to pay the tax of the country in which they are based because they are relatively speaking small. So it's a huge advantage for a big player over the small local players. So this global minimum tax is purely driven by the fact that time has come to bring a common tax, a minimum tax framework in place so that companies are not moving around their profits and not taking advantage of the system to pay low taxes. So this will eliminate that uh, practice of moving profits around. Okay, that leads us to the third question, which is how would it work? So for example, let's kind of understand this. Say a company is a global company. They are based in, say, UK, but they have structured their holding and subsidiary structure in such a way that they are based in, say, Ireland, mainly from a tax perspective. So they may be selling $1 billion worth of goods and services in the UK market, but those will get transferred to through the subsidiary and holding company structure to their company in, say, Ireland, and Ireland is what where they will record their revenue and therefore show the profits. And say if Ireland is charging them only 10%, I'm just making up, 10% tax rate, they'll pay only 10% tax rate. Whereas in the UK, had they continued to show the revenue and profits in the UK, for example, their tax rate would have been maybe 20 or 25%. And, and this applies to all the countries. You could take an emerging country example like India. You have lots of kind of subsidy structure where investment is made through Mauritius route or Singapore route. What happens is that the tax revenues are generated, profits are booked in India, well, profits are generated in India, but they are booked in Mauritius or Singapore. Therefore, the global company pays a very low tax. And the precious tax revenue that an emerging country like India would have earned, they miss out on that. So how would it work? Basically, it will say that if you are based in a country, but you're paying lower tax rate in another country through a whatever legal organization structure that you have put in place, the government in the country where you are predominantly based would have the flexibility to top up their taxes to 15%. Let's understand with the UK Ireland example. Say if UK is where most of the sales and sales are taking place, they are based, but they are booking their profits in Ireland through this subsidiary organization structure, and Ireland is charging them only 10% tax rate. UK government in this example will have the flexibility to charge additional 5% on that company to make sure that they are paying a minimum of 15%. Okay? In fact, the agreement seemed to suggest that government locally will have the flexibility to charge even a higher rate, but a minimum of 15% is a must. So if in this example, UK government chooses to charge 17% or 20%, they will have the flexibility to do that. But they can't charge a rate which is less than 15%. And what is the outcome that the G7 countries are hoping to achieve through this? This would effectively eliminate the advantages that are available to these global companies of shifting profits to low tax rate, because it doesn't matter whether they pay tax in a country where they're based versus the country where the low tax rate is. In the end, they'll end up paying at least 15% of tax. I know there is a lot of debate going on around this, whether 15% is appropriate, should it be 20%? Joe Biden, I think, has indicated it could be 21%. The opposition party in the UK is also suggesting 21%. But I think 15% as a minimum is a great way forward. Let's start with the minimum. Let's get everybody on board. And as people start to see the benefits of these minimum taxes framework, I think the rest of things can follow up. Okay. And that leads us to the final question, that is it all done deal or are there any next steps to this? Unfortunately, it is far away from being all done deal at this point in time. It's an agreement amongst the 7 countries. The key next step is for G20, which covers a vast majority of the global trade, global GDP. They are meeting in Venice next month. They will there This proposal will be tested for support amongst all other countries, amongst the countries that are outside G7 countries, and that includes countries such as China and India, which are rapidly growing and large economies in the world. And they will also have the chance to come on board on this one. So that's the kind of immediate next step. Of course, with these sort of measures, not everyone is happy. Of course, the tech companies, the global companies who have taken benefit of these loopholes, these legal options that are available to them, they are not happy about it because they would love to pay, continue to love to pay the minimum tax or the low tax that they are currently paying. At the same time, there are countries who are going to be unhappy about it, and they'll to push these sort of kind of measures being implemented globally. These countries are basically the countries which have attracted huge amount of investment, huge amount of corporate, um, I guess, presence in their countries as a result of low tax rate. Some of the examples: Ireland, Luxembourg, Netherlands. These are the example countries. They have benefited hugely by having low tax rate structure because many corporates have chosen to have their headquarter there, their main base there. Uh, there is, I think, based on rough estimate, there is a risk that these countries feel that if this low tax rate advantage is taken away from these countries, they could lose half of the corporate presence that they have in their countries. So it's a serious matter for them. But I think if G20 supports it, if it is for the broader good for the world as an economy, I think it should be supported and taken forward. Thank you so much for watching our video. Seriously hope that you've liked the content that we have presented in this video. We will look forward to your comments on this. We will look forward to button being pressed by you guys, and this video being shared by you with your friends and family. And one last thing to request is, if you have not subscribed to our channel A to Z Learning as yet, please don't wait anymore. Join us, subscribe our channel, and become part of our viewers family. Thank you so much, and we look forward to your comments on the content of this video.